Hi, and welcome to your summit. Your wait is over. Postmenopausal women scaling back is the topic of the summit. And the intention of these series of conversations with experts on weight loss is to empower postmenopausal women to lose weight with information and practical tips that allows you to get your vitality back, get your life back, because none of us really need to have much excess weight at all. And it's somewhat debilitating. So I'm here today with a naturopathic doctor, David Getoff. He practices in California in El Cajon, and really happy to have him. He has many credentials, some of which I'm going to read here. His list is long. He is a board-certified traditional naturopath and a board-certified clinical nutritionist, a fellow of the American Association of Integrative Medicine, an elected member of the American College of Nutrition, and he's board certified in integrative medicine and has developed and produced over a dozen educational holistic health DVDs on topics including cancer, heart disease, diabetes, detoxification, and is the co-author of Reduce Blood Pressure Naturally. And he is licensed in a couple of different states, and he's been a paid presenter at numerous scientific, medical, nutritional, dental, and organic agriculture conferences around the US. And I love this quote that David sent me. He says, "There is no treatment or drug which can overcome or negate the effects of a poor diet, inadequate nutrition, lack of exercise, and an unhealthy lifestyle." So I'm really happy to have you here talking with us today, David. And do you want to say a few words before I ask you some questions?
Sure. Well, the first one just is for California laws. I never call myself a doctor. I don't use that term. I just call myself actually David Getoff. I correct my patients all the time. They call me a doctor, and I joke about it, and I say, please do not call me doctor. Number one, because it's not legal in this state, and number two, because it's degrading. The 9 people you've already been to that couldn't help you were doctors. Don't put me in their category.
It's degrading? Oh, okay. Well, I get it. All right.
Because all the people that couldn't help them were doctors, so why call me a doctor?
Oh, excellent. Exactly. Cool. Okay, so David, so a bunch of questions here, and we're just going to be kind of conversational about this. So what are the most important things about food that women need to learn and abide by if they want to be able to lose weight?
Well, it's a fairly small list. It just happens to be 100% diametrically opposed to what medicine and dietetics is currently teaching them. And the things that they need to understand are, number one, if you want to lose weight, you must not be on a low-fat diet, because fat is what turns off the hunger switch and keeps you satiated between meals so that you don't madly dash for a snack that you shouldn't need. So we don't want a high-fat diet. We want the amount of fat that should be in every food, never removed, no low-fat yogurt, no low-fat milk, no low-fat cottage cheese, no low-fat dressing. The amount that should be there should be left there, and in some cases we have to raise it up a little higher. Number two is that we want to have adequate quality proteins. And so if you really want to lose weight, in addition to having adequate fat, every meal should have some good protein. That could be grass-fed beef, it could be grass-fed lamb, it could be wild-caught fish, as long as they're low in mercury. I mean, there are a number of possibilities. And the last, which is the most important, is that there's a category of foods which I have decided to label sabotage foods.
Oh, what are those?
I actually got a trademark from the government on that.
Really?
And sabotage foods, sabotage foods are starches, sugars, and alcohol. All of those either are sugar or your body will turn them into sugar, and they will sabotage your desire for weight loss, as well as sabotaging your ability to hold your blood sugar level, as well as sabotaging your ability to not want to be hungry when you shouldn't be eating extra food.
Right.
And what people don't understand is that you could have, as an example, 3 or 4 eggs for breakfast, and write down what time you finish the meal, and then write down when you first begin to feel hungry. And take a look at that, and 3 or 4 eggs will hold most people for between 5 and 7 hours.
Really?
Now, the next day, just to show you how different this is, the next day, have that same 3 or 4 eggs, whichever you had the same number, but now we're going to add a sabotage food. So I either want you to have maybe a half of a whole grain muffin, or a piece of multigrain whole grain bread, or if normally with your breakfast you would have some home fries or a hand of fresh French fries, you add that in. So the first day is only the eggs and maybe a little water if you wanted a drink. The second day is the same number of eggs with a sabotage food added. Write down when you finish eating, and write down when you start to become hungry, and be surprised. Well, wait a minute, I ate more food and I'm hungry sooner? That's right, you had enough nutrients to hold you for a longer period of time, but you sabotaged their ability with the starch.
Wow. You know, that reminds me of something that I got decades ago, actually. I was eating breakfast. I don't know what I was eating, probably some, crappy cereal at that time. And then I realized if I don't eat anything in the morning, I won't be hungry for the longest time, because I think it piqued my appetite. It got my digestion going, and probably the carbohydrate and sugar factor. Yeah, so I've had that experience, and I'm so glad I'm not doing that anymore. Okay.
And that's why the first meal is called break fast, because that's what we're doing.
Exactly. Okay, so do you want to talk about intermittent fasting on that note of fasting?
Sure. Well, intermittent fasting, and different people describe it differently. But one of the descriptions I like is that you should daily have a period of somewhere around 12 hours with no consumption of food. Well, what I want everybody to do, I don't care if they're trying to lose weight. I don't care if they're trying to get something up on their cancer or their diabetes. Just for general health, you would be better off if you waited 3 hours before bedtime after your last meal. And so we've got 3 hours there. If you got the amount of if you got the amount of sleep that the research study shows supports long-term health the best, which is around 8 hours. So we've got 8 plus 3, that's 11 hours. And if you don't eat the instant you crawl out of bed, you've already got your 12 or 13 or maybe 14 hours. You are intermittent fasting 365 days a year. And yes, that is healthier.
Great. It sure is. I've been doing that myself. I love it. And I have fewer cravings for food, like I said earlier. Okay, so next question. Is it true that we should eat 5 or 6 small meals a day and just watch our calories?
Well, what happened was that the people that, in general, we were taught to respect, even though most of us know now that we're wrong. In other words, the doctors and the dietitians, when it has to do with diet, which they weren't trained in, they came up with an incorrect idea, which is very wrong, that says that low fat is healthy. Since fat is what holds you satiated so you're not hungry, oh my goodness, if you eat a low-fat diet, you're hungry all day. So they backpedaled and they went, well, if we want to put people on a low-fat diet, what lie can we tell them that will make it seem okay? Oh, I've got an idea. They're supposed to eat 6 times a day, so it's okay that they're always hungry. Wrong. You're supposed to eat the way our DNA was programmed tens of thousands of years ago, when nobody had electricity, so there were no freezers and no refrigerators. When you couldn't go to a store, the word didn't exist. And when you had to find everything in nature, so somebody was hunting or fishing or trapping, and maybe you could find a couple of weeds that tasted good. And therefore, people probably ate an average of 1 or 2 times a day, although we find 3 does seem to work. So I tell people twice a day or 3 times a day, whichever works for you is fine. But if you feel the need to eat more than that, you're eating sabotage foods, and they're going to prevent your long-term health, your long-term weight loss, and they're going to increase your risk for diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and cancer.
Right. Okay. So changing the paradigm. Here we go. All sorts of new stuff on the horizon in the last couple of years that we're talking about. Okay, next question. Does it matter how late at night we eat our last meal?
And what happens is that while we're asleep, our body has a lot of things to do. Let's say it's supposed to go into regeneration mode and rebuild tissues that broke down during the day and all these different things that it can't do because during the day, that energy is going to other things. The body is very smart, and so that food doesn't rot and cause all sorts of problems, the body will divert energy to digestion. We want to make sure it doesn't think it needs to do that by having the digestion done adequately enough that we can instead be doing regeneration when we're sleeping. And that means that the last meal of the night should be somewhere around 3 hours. More is fine. 2.5, maybe for some people. I prefer 3 or more prior to getting into bed. So your body does all the things it's supposed to do while we're asleep and is not diverting essential energy to digestion when it should be doing other things.
Exactly. Yeah, the body timing is very important because it's healing at night while we sleep. And that makes
it wants to. We don't let it.
We don't let it very often, right? We got to get in sync here. Okay, so next question. How important is exercise, and is there any type of exercise that is better than all the others for weight loss?
So how important is exercise? We were not a sedentary population. Nobody ever exercised. They got exercise as part of their life. They were trying to catch something that they needed to eat. They were running away from something because they didn't want it to eat them. And that was exercise. It just wasn't labeled exercise. So we are not a sedentary body. Our body likes to move around. The more sedentary somebody's lifestyle is, such as mine, for example, where I sit in my office seeing patients all day, the more important it is to have some amount of time, maybe 3 days a week, because most people get too much exercise that do exercise. So maybe 3 days a week to find some kind of exercise. So exercise is important because it gets things moving. However, as far as weight loss is concerned, the research has been done, and the exercise is for your general health. I don't want people to think about it for weight loss, even though it will help it a little bit, because exercise only adds about 10% above the benefits of eating correctly. So if somebody exercises madly and eats sabotage foods, you're going to see people just like we see when you look at photos and videos in the gym, where people that have been there 4 or 5 days a week, every day for the last who knows how long, and they're best types of exercise. Probably the single best type of exercise in general would be bouncing for maybe 20 minutes a day gently on a trampoline, on a mini rebounder, because it gets all sorts of things working. NASA did the research to prove that. However, the best exercise for weight loss, if somebody chose to specifically add exercise for weight loss, is actually called HIIT, although it's really HIIT, but it's HIIT. It's high intensity interval training. Most of the people describing it are describing it incorrectly because they're telling you how long to exercise and how long to relax. And high intensity interval training, there is no time. It depends on the individual. So you might run in place on a soft mat or a trampoline as fast as you possibly can. So fast that it gets to the point where if somebody had a gun on you and they said run faster, you couldn't run any faster. Then you're doing HIIT. And you keep doing that until you are so tired that if the same person had the gun on you and said don't stop, you'd say, well, then you better shoot me. I can't do it any longer. That's high intensity interval training. Then you stop and you walk around until your heartbeat gets back to within 10% of your normal, and you do it again. So we have no idea how long that first session will be because we're all different. We have no idea how long you will walk around to recuperate because we're all different. And then you do it a second time. So the only thing that gets timed is how many times you're going to do this. So the first time you might do it once and go, that's it, I'm done. And then the next time, maybe a couple days later, after the interval of rest, you'll do another interval of exercise. And maybe after you've been doing this, let's say 3 times a week for 3 or 4 weeks, you'll find that you can keep on going back and forth, maybe for 20 minutes, with the majority of time being rest time and the less amount of time, because you get pooped out so fast, being the exercise time. and that will burn more calories. It will burn more calories after you've stopped than any other exercise, and it is shown to be better in almost every single way. But if you have a heart problem or anything else, get it checked by your doctor before you start doing that kind of exercise.
And again, the timing thing, is that very individual when it comes to, for instance, how many times a week?
Well, exercise in general should be carried out 3 or 4 times a week. If you really are exercising and you're really pushing yourself, you need time in between, just like we need time to sleep. We need time in between to be able to have all the recuperation. And a lot of people don't understand that. I have a hard time with people that are exercise fanatics, where they go, no, 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 I have to exercise 7 days a week. And I go, if you're going to do that, I can't work with you because your body isn't going to be able to have the energy to rebuild. And they go, oh, but you don't understand, David. I'm doing cardio one day. I'm doing upper body the next day. I'm doing lower body the third day. I'm doing stretching the fourth day. And I said, no, you don't understand. If we have a crew of workmen building you a house, and they're working on the plumbing system all day one day, and the electric system all day another day, and the roof all day a third day, and they're framing all day a fourth day, they're not resting. Even though they're doing something different every day, they need that rest.
Right, exactly. Kind of the yin and the yang of it all. Okay, so the next question is, do all the toxic substances we are exposed to, like chlorine, cleaning products, and heavy metals, have any effect on a woman's ability to lose weight?
That's something that people aren't giving enough time to. They're not understanding it. They're not looking at it. We know that the most important thing for weight loss is the burning of calories. The burning of calories is associated with your metabolism. Well, guess what? A really good way to foul up your metabolism and have your metabolism not burn calories as fast and as efficiently as it should, one, of course, is to be sedentary all day and never doing any exercise. And a second is because the organs and organ systems and the metabolic system are being poisoned by the chlorine and chloramines in your water and fluoride in most people's waters, the chlorine and ammonia that people are using that are massively toxic to clean their house because they have to kill all those bugs, and they don't realize that there are non-toxic ways to do it, and you might not even want to kill them all because we have a better immune system that works against them. So yes, the less toxic stuff there is in your body, it's usually referred to as your body burden. The less toxic stuff, the better off you are. And so certainly some people can work with somebody to do detoxification, but you can start right now by looking for, and actually I've got some on my website, a list of the much less toxic products so that your shampoo isn't putting poisons in your body directly through your skin, and your body lotion isn't doing the same, and your toothpaste isn't doing the same, and your cleaning solvents aren't putting things up into the air that you're breathing all the time. So the more you can reduce poisons, the better your body starts to work. So it absolutely makes a difference.
Yes, and I understand that it's not that easy to get those darn toxins out of our bodies because our bodies weren't designed to handle these synthetic chemicals. Can you say more about that?
That is a big, that's a big problem. Our main detoxification organs are our liver, our kidneys, and our skin. We do get a little bit out in our breath, and some stuff gets pushed into our hair. You know, if you test the hair, it's got a bunch of heavy metals in it, so you could say it's helping us detox. But really the big ones are our kidneys, our liver, and our skin. Our kidneys and our livers were not designed for the quantity of poisons that we're exposed to, simply because if you go back in time, none of these poisons existed. We go back as little as 100 years, and most of the poisons we're exposed to every day, they hadn't been invented yet. They didn't put all this garbage in your shampoo and in your soaps and your cleaning products. So we're overloading them tremendously. So yes, very, very important to understand that we weren't designed to do that. One of the reasons that people get autoimmune conditions, neurological conditions, all of them, and cancer is because of the buildup of these poisons that our body can't get rid of. So yes, it is something that isn't easy, and you really need to work with somebody to be able to help get these out. I did I think it's a 3-hour video on detoxification, just telling people how to do this, which products to use, because if you don't do anything else except detoxification, you will be reducing your risks of numerous conditions as you get older.
And are any of these videos available on your website?
I don't have time to ship because I'm so busy. So the nonprofit foundation, the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation, it's PP for Price Pottinger, NF for nutritionfoundation.org. They carry all of my videos. I love the foundation. I'm on their board. I've been their vice president for 12 years now. And that way I don't have to deal with getting them out. Hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, I will have them available on a streaming website where people can pay a lot less because they don't want to own it. They just want to watch it like going to the movies.
Sure.
And for the people that subscribe on my website, you'll almost never hear from me. But when that website goes live, I'll tell people.
Okay. Okay. That sounds great. Awesome. Yeah, because I like to give our viewers practical information, and there's a lot of practical information to be had, such as yours. Okay. So moving on to the next question. What about the electrical fields that are coming into our environments, into our bodies from these large, wires that transfer electrical information out there? And do they interfere with weight loss?
I would say that the single least discussed issue in current society in North America is the well-researched, and I mean really well-researched, there's thousands of research studies, we simply are not being made aware of them because they're being withheld, information on both electric fields and electromagnetic fields and wireless technologies. So there's a whole bunch of different ones which we won't go over, that'd take 2 hours. But you have electric fields, just as you said, from the wires that are coming into our buildings from outside. We have electric fields coming from the wires that are in our walls that are supplying us the power that we need to run our refrigerators and everything else.
Possibly right at our heads while we're sleeping in our beds. Those wires.
That's correct. Yep. And then we have the wireless electromagnetic fields that are coming in from portable telephones, Wi-Fi, and regular cell phones, with the portable phones, the cordless phones, currently being shown to be the most damaging. And anybody that has a cordless phone in their house, if they really want to be good for themselves, they should throw them out and just have an electrician wire more corded phones. Second after that is Wi-Fi. And so the more hours a day you can have your Wi-Fi turned off, the less it is inflaming your body. Inflammation reduces the body's ability to lose weight. When the body is inflamed, it wants to hold on to weight. And so when people are asleep, they're supposed to be relaxed, but they're not. They're inflamed because there's a cordless phone somewhere in the house, which is irradiating the entire house and 20 or 30 feet or more outside. Their Wi-Fi is on, which is inflaming their entire body and everybody else. And they probably have a cell phone less than 2 rooms away from them. So that's also doing that. And they actually did a fascinating little study, which I loved when it came out, where they had some people who had diabetes. And they tested their blood sugar, and then they had them walk or run on a treadmill in their house. And as soon as they got off, they tested their blood sugar again, because we know exercise greatly reduces your blood sugar because the exercise is using up the blood sugar. It's doing a good thing. On many of these people, their blood sugar was higher when they got off the treadmill than when they got on the treadmill. And they finally isolated the cause. It was the electrical fields, of which massive amounts are generated by motors, of the motor of the treadmill. And when they did the same exercise walking around their house, the blood sugar went down as it should. And when they went back onto the treadmill because of its electric motor, the blood sugar went in the opposite direction of why they were on the treadmill.
Wow. Yeah, so we really need to pay attention to these, the electromagnetic fields that we can't see. So because we can't see them, oftentimes we're not even aware, even though we've heard this conversation, that we really need to be mindful of somehow guarding ourselves against that. And there are ways, if you want to look around in the internet, there are ways to do that that we can't go into right here, but it definitely is a very huge concern. And as I'm sitting here in front of my EMF maker, I'm wearing a pendant that helps protect me from the EMFs, and hopefully doing a good job of it. Okay, so
there's mine.
yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, so there's many things people often hear of these pendants as a Q pendant. That was big for a while. You don't have to look too far on the internet to find something that'll protect you from EMFs. It's very important. Okay, last question, David. What do you do to help your female patients get their partners on board so they don't sabotage their desire to change what they eat so they can lose weight?
That is a big issue. I have that with weight loss patients all the time. I have it with cancer patients and diabetes patients. And I always tell people that I don't expect people to have 100% willpower. I don't have 100% willpower. I don't expect anybody to. So therefore, we need the help of those around us. And hopefully, if people are trying to be healthy, I know this is not always true, but hopefully if people are trying to be healthy, the predominant number of meals they consume during the course of a month, they eat at home. And therefore, they need the other people that they're eating with to be willing to forego some of the foods that, by the way, are not good for them either. But maybe they're not trying to lose weight, and they don't understand that not eating these foods will reduce their risk of cancer, reduce their risk of heart disease, reduce their risk of diabetes. They think, well, mom is just doing this to lose weight, and I don't need to lose weight, and therefore it doesn't matter, but it does matter. So the first thing I do is see if you can get the people in your family, have a little meeting, get them all together, your partner, your kids if they're there, tell them, mommy wants to do something that's going to be very good for her health. It will help her to be here, especially if you've got kids. It will help me to be here for you for a long time. If I'm healthy, I'll be here for you. I want to see you get married. I want to see you have kids. We need to be healthy for that, or whatever works, for their people. And so I'd like you to be willing, I hope, to do me a big favor. You can call it a birthday present, an anniversary present, a Christmas present, a Hanukkah present, whatever you want to call it, a big favor. What I'd like you to be willing to do is for 60 days in a row. For the adult, that's not too long. For the kids, that's like a lifetime. But for 60 days in a row, would you be willing to also eat the way I'm eating when you're at home? If you want to eat garbage when you're out, you do it. But when I'm home for 60 days, I promise you the food will taste delicious. I'm not going to give you foods you don't like because fats are very good tasting. So actually, a lot of the foods are massively luscious foods.
Yeah.
However, things like pasta is going to go away because it's pure starch. Macaroni is going to go away. Potatoes are going to go away. Corn is going to go away. Rice is going to go away. However, we can replace the pasta with kelp noodles or shirataki noodles, themiraclenoodle.com. Those are only fiber, and they won't cause the problem, and the delicious sauce will still be there, and we'll put in whatever vegetables you like. So broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, etc. And we can melt cheese over it and put butter on it. It'll be delicious. It just won't be the starches. If you guys would be willing to do that for 60 days as a gift to me, I would love it. And what happens is the families that come to this agreement, and I have a lot that do, so many things feel better to the other people during those 60 days that they realize it isn't only helping mom, or it isn't only helping, in some cases in my practice, the cancer patient. It's helping them also. Maybe the partner stops getting his or her headaches. And maybe the kids, one or two of them was a little overweight and being kidded in school all the time, and they're losing weight without even trying. And then it's easier to continue it past the 60 days.
Great. Very great idea. And it demonstrates that, we're not alone, and we can't easily do these things alone. We need support. And so that's a really great idea. So we've talked about, actually alluded to healthy fats. And I know I've definitely been incorporating them in my diet for a couple of years now. But why don't you tell us what those healthy fats are and what the non-healthy fats are?
Sure. Well, the healthy fats are the ones we've been eating for thousands of years when we had almost no heart disease, almost no cancer, no obesity, no overweight. And when people say, oh, yeah, but we only lived to be 40 back then, that's actually a manipulation of statistics. That's not true. If you go into a cemetery that's been closed for 100 years because it's full, and you look at the birth and death dates, you'll find lots of 80 and 90 and 100-year-olds. So that's a manipulation. And so the healthy fats are the ones we've been eating for hundreds or thousands of years. What are they? That's very easy. That's the fat that is on or in any properly raised food. So the fat that's in or on grass-fed beef, grass-fed lamb, pastured chickens, eggs from pastured chickens. And by the way, I am not saying free range. Free range is walking around outside on dirt. I'm saying pastured. They're walking around outside in grass, very different. And then the extra fats are the ones which have been used again for thousands of years. So that would be butter, ghee, olive oil if it's extra virgin. I make a joke and I say your olive oil must never to have had sex. It must be extra virgin olive oil.
Excellent.
And coconut oil, palm oil. You know, those are the really healthy fats. Saturated fats, if nature saturated them, are very healthy. If we saturated them, then they're called partially hydrogenated oils. They're very unhealthy. So the unhealthy fats are the ones which are unstable and which we have manufactured in the last 100 years that didn't exist before that. So the unhealthy fats are canola oil, cottonseed oil, corn oil, soybean oil, and vegetable oil, because that doesn't tell you where it came from. That gives them the right to hide whichever is cheapest in there because there's no substance named vegetable that they can buy.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I know I add about 3 tablespoons of avocado oil or olive oil to my meals every meal, and then I've got the saturated fats in the meats, and it really does make a difference in my appetite. It really just don't get those cravings so much anymore. They're very much reduced.
It doesn't help when the big associations, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Association, are not looking at any of the research studies, except the ones they want, which were done wrong, and they keep on pointing to the same ones that were done wrong. And so they're telling people, stay away from saturated fats, eat all the wrong fats, the ones I just mentioned is bad. They're still telling you to eat, and they're promoting what their doctors are treating you for. Well, it may be helping their bottom line, but it's not helping the health of our world.
Right. So we really need to take more responsibility for our health and the education that we get around it. Yeah, for sure. So David, I understand that you have a free gift for us. What is your free gift for our viewers?
Well, I decided that the best free gift, because these interviews are always limited in time, are for me to pick a few topics that we either didn't cover or that I think should be covered more thoroughly, and record me covering them and give that as an MP3 that people can listen to. And you'll find out what the things are that I'm covering when you listen to them.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David Getoff, for being here with us and informing us and enlightening us. And that was a pun, I guess, enlightening us if we want to take some weight off. And
helping us to enlighten ourselves.
Exactly. We're all up to that in so many ways. So awesome. And thank you, David, and thank you, viewers. So viewers, check your inbox tomorrow. You'll find another 1 or 2 interviews there then. All right. Bye for now.